Yo, what is going on, everybody? It's your boy Ansel Armstrong back again, and today we have a really awesome video in store. Now that we are closing in on MLB The Show 20 being out for almost 2 months, which is pretty crazy to think about in and of itself, we are going to give an updated video on flipping and making subs on the market in MLB The Show 20. I know early on I did a video a bit more comprehensive and general, and so to speak, on making subs in MLB The Show. Today in this video, after playing the game for 2 months, hearing y'all's questions countless times, and working with a lot of members of this community and helping them get subs to get Micky Mantle, finish collections, do for exchanges, whatever the purpose may be. I've been helping a lot of people, and so I want to take a lot of those commonly asked questions about specifically flipping and working the market, and we're going to talk about them here in this video. And essentially how it's going to boil down is we're going to give my do's and don'ts of flipping and MLB The Show, and hopefully give a somewhat comprehensive guide. So if you're just starting out and you're just starting to flip cards, this can help you out. Or if you're more of a seasoned player who is trying to get up to pace here with MLB 20, as things are a little bit different this year, hopefully this video will help you. Before we get too far in this video, I do want to give a quick shout out to our Twitch channel. You can find the link down in the description below. We are live streaming on Twitch every night of the week outside of Thursdays and Saturdays. We're always grinding out MLB The Show 20, building our no money spent squad, ranked seasons, BR events, grinding out the inning programs, and most importantly, I'm always helping people with market questions, flipping questions, things like that. There's a lot of helpful people in the community that we have outside of myself that are market experts, so to speak. They're helping people out. We're talking about when to buy cards, which cards are good for flipping, what we're doing at this current moment to make stubs. Definitely go, be sure to give a check out to the channel, link in the description below. So when flipping cards in MLB The Show, the first do that we have is focusing on quantity over quality. There's an argument to be made for both, and there's some personal preference here, but I'm a big quantity over quality guy to a degree. If you go and you look at some common cards, you'll see people buying 500 of a certain common to sell and make 20 subs on each one. Personally, I think your time could be spent better doing other things, but I still think to some degree quantity over quality is the way to go. Let's look at this Rougned Odor here, for example. So when we pull up his orders, 228 is his buy now price and 108 is his sell now price. So if I was looking to buy him, I'd come in here, I'd create a buy order, I'd put it in at 109. Right, we put it in at 109, we'd fill that order and we'd get that card, and then we would then go through and of course list them in a sell order for 227. As you can see, after tax with a 227 sell order, we would make 204 stubs. So that is coming in at just about 100 stub profit, and personally that is the margin that I look for. So I come in here and I look for cards that are more than 100 subs after tax or around that mark. Something like this Freddie Galvis at 202 and 101 is not bad. Ryan Stanek 208 and 95 is not bad. If we go over here to the next page, Todd Frazier has a decent gap. Nate Eovaldi has a really good gap right now. Travis Shaw has a good gap. I go through in here, even you can do a Brandon Drury, there's not bad gaps. There is a ton of cards here that have really strong gaps that are going to get you close to 100 subs per flip. Now, if you can do 100 of those flips in an hour, 100 flips in an hour at 100 subs per flip, which 100 flips in an hour is not too much, because again, we're focusing on quantity. So we're going through here and we're just buying as quick as we can. We see if we see a good margin, we go through here, boom, Dominic Smith, I'm buying. And then it's on to the next one. Jose Urena, I'm buying. On to the next one. We're not going to spend a whole lot of time worrying about which specific cards we've bought. We'll get to that in a little bit through the selling process, but we're not gonna worry too much about, oh, I'm buying this specific card, let me go write it down so I can go remember it. Oh, I bought this one at this price, let me go write it down so I can remember it for later. We're not, again, the name of the game is quantity right now over quality. Stephen Piscotty, we're looking for these ones that are close to 100 subs after tax, which is important to remember that there is a 10% tax taken off. So For example, this Colin McHugh will do a low number, easier math. You take 10% off of your sell price of 60 stubs, you get 54 stubs after tax is what you would make on this Colin McHugh card. So again, you want to make sure you're making those 100 after tax. And if you can do 100 of those in an hour, which it sounds a little daunting, it says, wow, I was flipping 100 cards in an hour. There's no way. But it is not that difficult. Once you get rolling, once you get the process down, you're going to be flying through it. If you can do 100 of these flips in an hour at 100 stubs each, you're going to be making 10K stubs an hour. You do that 2 to 3 hours per day for an entire week. You're talking 250,000 stubs. You could get Mike Trout in a week and a half, 2 weeks, even a week if you're doing super efficient and super good flips. If you're really getting your system down, that is Mike Trout in just a matter of a couple weeks. I think anybody who does not have Trout right now and is going for him would take that in a heartbeat. So the first don't we're going to be talking about is to avoid some of these big margin flips, so to speak. So for example, we're looking at Aaron Judge right here. Based off these numbers we're seeing in front of us, a 15K buy order, a 13.3 sell order, you'd be making about 250 to 300 subs for flipping this card. Now, if you're looking at it, you're thinking that's great, 250, 300 stubs. That is more than I'm making from lower tier cards. I should jump on that. But here's where the problem comes in. Firstly, these diamond cards are inherently a bit more volatile. Their price is going to fluctuate more so than a bronze, silver, or even a gold card will. As you can see, we saw last week there was a flash sale and cards like Aaron Judge really tanked in price really quick. Now they're starting to rebound now, but I know of people who are sitting on 2 to 3 copies of a singular diamond card to flip them, and then now all of a sudden they're out 30, 40, 50K stubs on those cards, and if they were to sell them, they take a 5 to 6K loss per card, and that's not something you're going to want to do. However, even if we don't think about that fact, if we make 300 subs on flipping Aaron Judge, but it takes us 30 minutes to do so, let's say it takes us 15 minutes to buy it and 15 minutes to sell it, that's inherently much less effective than flipping bronzes, right? Or silvers or golds, or these lower tier cards that move faster. Again, talking about quantity over quality. If we were to flip this Aaron Judge for 300 stubs in that same time frame, in a 30-minute time frame, we may be able to flip 50 silvers or 50 bronzes at 100 stubs a piece and make 5K stubs in the same amount of time it's taken us to flip one diamond. Now, of course, there are always exceptions to this rule. I know some people, if we look at non-live series cards, some of these have a little bit better margins. A card like Cy Young actually has pretty good margins right now. There's always exceptions, and if you have a ton of stubs, I think there's some ability to go in here on these big ones. I know of somebody the other day who was flipping Chipper Jones for about 1,000 subs each and was doing them 10 to 20 times in an hour and was making a decent amount of profit. Now, again, there's always the volatile risk of them. They're going to slowly be declining in value, especially a card like Chipper Jones, and you could be losing out a lot there. But of course, there's always risk and reward, as is with everything. But I would definitely hold off on flipping some of these bigger margin, bigger flip cards until you have a lot of subs to work with and you're able to diversify what you're going for. So in addition to flipping your lower tier silvers, bronzes, golds, then you come in and dabble with a couple diamonds as well. You go for a couple big flips while you're simultaneously working some other aspects of the market as well. Another thing to consider when looking at big flips, so to speak, is outlier cards. Just like this Jake Fraley right here, he's about 100 stub, a little bit more, 150 stub flip that you can make. But as you can see, his price does not fall in line with other bronzes of that same tier, and that is because he's been added to the game late, and eventually his price will tank. As you can see, he's only been in the game for a little bit over 2 weeks now. His price is maintaining at over 1,000 subs, but eventually this will tank. And there's been other cards who have been at 2,000 to 3,000 subs for bronzes that are now worth 200 to 300. I've known of people who have grabbed 20 to 30 of those to flip at 2,000 subs a piece. They've tanked now to 200 subs a piece, and they've lost significant stubs doing so. So my rule of thumb is, another little semi-don't here, always stay away from these outlier cards. There's something weird going on with the market. If anything like that's happening, I'm gonna take a break. I'm gonna take a step back. I'll go find something else to flip because there's plenty out there to do so. So our next do here is going to be do alternate between buying and selling. You never want to sit on a card or an order for too long, no matter the circumstances. I don't want to buy a card and then not sell it till 3 to 4 hours later. And I don't want to be, you know, sitting on a buy order for a card for 3 to 4 hours as well. So I usually alternate about 15 to 20 minutes of buying, and then I'm gonna go through and sell. And then when I'm selling my cards, the big thing that I do, again, we mentioned this a little bit earlier, is I'm not focusing on necessarily who I'm buying to sell, but I know that every card that I buy is at a good margin. So I spent 15 to 20 minutes going through and buying cards, and I'll still have some buy orders out now, and then I'll just begin going through my inventory. I don't have any as I've gone through and I've sold everything, but I will just begin going through my inventory and selling every card I had. Let's say, you know, I had a duplicate Brandon Workman. It doesn't necessarily matter. Maybe I got him from a random post-game reward. Maybe I got him from buying him to flip and he had the 100 stub margin. Doesn't matter. I put him up. So I'm not necessarily paying attention too much to exactly which card I'm buying and then searching out those cards, because again, the name of the game is all about speed. So the time I'm spent tracking which cards I'm buying and then going out and searching those cards is, again, time I could be used flipping. Whereas if I just go through and I sell everything that I have here, I know that whichever cards I've bought to flip, they're going to be sold no matter what, because I've gone through and I've simply sold everything. I won't be left with any of the cards. Now, there are times where maybe I don't get as high as margins or profit as I could have because I bought it when it was 100 sub margin and now it's down to 50, but that doesn't matter to me because, again, it's all about quantity over quality, which kind of leads into our second point as well. Once I put an order up for sale, I forget about it. It's done to me. The only time I will check those is if after 24 or more hours it is still up there selling. Then I will go through and check it. I see a lot of people talking all the time about, you know, what do we do if somebody's undercutting me? Somebody keeps knocking me down by 10, 15 stubs, or my profit margin's gone on this card I have now. What do? I say I don't even worry about it. At no point do I have any idea if anyone ever undercuts one of my cards. I'm sure it happens all the time. I'm sure it happens almost every time, but I have no idea that it does happen, because once I put an order up, again, we're talking about being efficient with the time. I'm on to the next card. I'm buying another card. I'm selling another card. I'm not worrying about that card that I've put up recently. And I'm not going to worry about someone undercutting me 10, 15, 20 stubs and going through and relisting that order. Instead of taking 15 minutes getting into a bidding war with someone driving the price down, I trust the price that I put it up with, right? The market always is going to have some fluctuations and it will come back and sell. So I trust that price. I trust the market where it's at. I'm gonna go through and spend those 15 minutes that I could have been in a bidding war with someone. I'm gonna spend that time buying more cards to flip and being more efficient with my time. So again, do be fluctuating between buying and selling to make sure you have a nice flow of subs going in and out, especially if you're just starting, if you don't have a ton of subs to begin with, somewhat out of necessity. If you only have 10K stubs, you go through, put 10K of orders, go through, start selling them. And usually if I have a buy order that's been up for about an hour or so, I'll just go in here and cancel those and start relisting for other ones. And then for sell orders, I'm not worrying about those. Again, remember, we have a don't here. Don't go through and micromanage your sell orders. They'll sell at the price that they're at. The market was at that price that you listed it at that time for a reason, and it will either fluctuate back up or back down to that price no matter what. So don't micromanage your sell orders. Put them up to sell. If it's been a couple days and they still haven't sold, then at that point you can relist it and maybe you break even, lose a couple subs. Again, in the long run, that's not really all that important, because we're all about being as efficient as we can with the time that we have. So our next do here is take advantage of the ebb and the flow of the market, especially with some of the more higher value cards if you're going to flip those. So as the market goes on throughout the day, it is not a straight line. It will fluctuate. Generally speaking, the market will dip around early in the morning, around 8 a.m. Eastern time, I believe, and then closer to around 6 to 7 p.m. at night, it will be the market peak. So during those late night hours, early in the mornings, you can get some cards for really, really cheap. and then turn around and flip them for a higher price later in the evening. So it's important to understand the ebb and the flow of the market and understand the value of cards, right? So if you know certain cards sell for a certain price and you get on one morning and they're super low, you can take advantage of that, pick them up, sell them later in the afternoon into the evening. Now, again, as we get down to these lower value cards, your silvers and the bronzes, there's not going to be as much fluctuating, but with your higher end golds, your diamonds, things like that, there's going to be a little bit of fluctuation each day. So you want to go through, understand the market, and you do want to take advantage of that, be able to buy some cards at discounts. Again, you know, it's simple approach here. You want to buy low, sell high. And if you're able to buy at a lower than normal low at a certain point of the day and sell at a higher than normal high at a certain point of the day, you can take advantage of that and really extrapolate the amount of subs that you can make in your amount of time that you spend flipping. One area that I really use this ebb and the flow of the market on to take advantage of is overnight orders, especially on diamond equipment. Now, one thing to note here is that a lot of this I also use the Show Nation in conjunction with. So on the Show Nation, you can go through and you can see price trends for cards, and that's very important to understand an area of the market. So for example, this gold glove, I can go through, I can look at the price trend of it, and I can see, okay, usually it sells around 12K. That's a pretty normal price for it. But if I go in here to the orders, I can see that's not a very good example here. Let's find another. Look at these cleats here. Perfect example. So let's say usually 12,000 is a good price for these cleats. I can go on and I can see down at the bottom of these sell orders, there's one for about 9.9. I can maybe come in, put an order for 9,500 subs, and as the market dips overnight, I could come in, pick up this cleat for cheap because I'll have that order set and ready to go for 9.5 overnight. I wake up in the morning, I list it for 12,500. It sells later in the afternoon. Boom, we make 2,000-3,000 subs pretty easily doing that. Not a whole lot of time there. If I have a lot of stubs, I like throwing some in that. I can go up and down the list, putting some orders out where we need it, you know, finding some that have a low dip, maybe we throw one out for 7K here, sell it for 10. Boom, we make 2,000 subs pretty easily there. But that's all about understanding the market, and it's all about using the Show Nation and using the resources available to make sure that you are making good decisions as you're buying cars to flip. So, you know, understanding the area of this market and knowing how it's gonna ebb and flow. If I know that this is a good price based off the history and price trends on the Show Nation, I can come in, pick it up at a discount, a steep discount, sell it the next day, make 2,000 to 3,000 subs, and that's all happening while overnight while I'm asleep. You know, that takes 10 minutes to go through, put 100,000 subs of orders in on diamond equipment overnight at really low prices based off where you think they could sell based off price trends. And then in the boom, you wake up the next morning, you've gotten half of those, you sell them, make 2,000 to 3,000 subs each. And that's really easy stubs you can make, all taking advantage of the ebbs and the flows of the market as it changes and shifts throughout the day. So this kind of segues us into our next point. Our next due point is find an area of the market you're comfortable with. Personally, I love equipment, specifically gold equipment. Now, a lot of these gold equipments have kind of taken a hit recently in value, but as you can see, there are really good margins here still. A lot of these margins are over that 100 subs per flip that we're looking for. The vast majorities are at least close to that, but in addition to that, I feel comfortable and know the values of a lot of these cards. For example, this forearm slider, when I was flipping it earlier in the year, a lot of times it was selling for 2,000 subs a piece. And one morning I woke up and all of a sudden it was at 1,000 subs a piece. I was able to buy a couple at 1,000 subs a piece. By the next day, it was back up to 2,000 subs. I flipped them, made 800 subs per each forearm slider, a piece of equipment that we had here. And that was only possible because I took the time to understand and know that aspect of the market. So there was a lot of areas of, you know, time spent flipping these cards, knowing the value of them, so that when a good deal did come up, I could take advantage of that properly and know that I was getting a very good deal. You can do the same with gold players, with silver players, with bronze players. but you have to find an area that you're comfortable with. That's the most important thing to flipping, is don't flip a certain type of card just because someone says to flip that card. You know, if someone says flip diamonds or golds or silvers or whatever specific thing, don't necessarily flip that one specific thing. Find what you're comfortable with, find the area of risk that you're willing to take, and find somewhere of value that you are comfortable and understand those prices so you can take advantage of it, right? If you want to do less than 100 subs per flip and do, you know, lower tier bronzes in mass, then hey, you can keep doing that. Personally, I like looking at bronzes, silvers, and gold equipments at 100 subs a flip. I know people who do diamonds. Again, it's something that I recommend against, but if you're super comfortable with it and comfortable with those prices, then by all means go for it and attack it. But it's all about finding your own personal groove and area of comfort when flipping. And then finally, our final don't here in regards to flipping in MLB The Show 20 is don't think that flipping is the only path to success and stubs in this game. There are a lot of avenues and a lot of ways to make stubs. As you can see, we're sitting on about 302k. That's probably closer to 400k. I have a lot of stuff in my inventory. We got Micky Mantle. We have just about every card in the game. And to be completely, fully transparent and honest with you, the majority of my stubs have not come from flipping in this game. So don't think that the only way for you to succeed in this game is to spend hours and hours flipping, and if you don't do that, you're going to be behind and you're not going to be able to play the game. I don't want anybody to come out of this video thinking that. And we're going to have a video, a new one in the very near future, going over every way outside of flipping, just direct flipping, that I'm making stubs in MLB The Show 20 to hopefully give you some insight on my approaches and my process to making stubs in this game, so you can all have a successful team. So to recap quickly here, our do's and don'ts for flipping in MLB The Show. 1, do focus on quantity over quality. We're looking for those 100+ stub flips per card. 2, don't focus on the big margin flips that may make you more stubs each flip, but could take 10, 20 times as long to do that flip. Let's try to be as efficient with our time as possible. Our second do here, alternate between buying and selling. Make sure you're having cards coming in and out. You're not letting your buy orders sit up for too long, and you're not letting a card that you've bought sit in your inventory for too long either. Our next don't is don't worry about your orders once you've put them up for sale. Don't micromanage. If someone wants to undercut, let them undercut. Set it and forget it. It'll sell, it'll go through. And if it doesn't, you can relist it after 24 or so hours, but don't micromanage it during that time. Our next do is to take advantage of the changes in the market. The market drops early in the mornings, peaks late in the afternoons, and changes through other various factors as well throughout that. So you can go through and take advantage of those adjustments and changes in the markets. And our final do find an area you are comfortable in, whether it be silvers or commons or bronzes or golds. Find somewhere where you're comfortable in, where you feel as though you can make good, consistent profits on, and focus on that area. And then our final don't think flipping is the only path to success and stubs and MLB The Show 20. There are tons of ways to make stubs in this game, and we'll be talking more about those in the very near future. That does it for today's do's and don'ts on flipping in MLB The Show 20. I hope it has been helpful for you. If you have any other questions about flipping, please let me know in the comments. I try my best to respond to anybody and everybody's comments, whether it's just a question regarding flipping, regarding a player, doesn't matter. Let me know down in the comment section below what kind of success you've had with flipping this year. And if you have any more questions, please do hit up the comments down below, or hit up our Twitch in the link in the description below. We're live 5 days a week. We're always asking and answering questions about the market there. But if you've enjoyed this video, be sure to like and subscribe. We're closing in on 3,000 subscribers. That's insane, just thinking about where we were a month ago to where we are now. Until next time, I'll see y'all later.